We always start off with the 4 rules against
Fundamentals of shooting a revolver are identical to the fundamentals of shooting a semi-automatic.
This is a fun drill that I like to do. And it's a great rifle for home defense, for personal protection. Have a great time. So everybody, let's go and do some shooting, shall we? Hi, ASP. This is John with another episode of Active Self-Protection. I want to talk to you today not about defending yourself against deadly harm, but in fighting the fight after the fight. I'm talking now about the aftermath of a deadly force encounter. Let's say, God forbid, you had to actually use the skills that you've worked on. You've been in a deadly force encounter, the guns come out, somebody tried to mug you, or you had a reason, for whatever reason, someone tried to hurt you with deadly force, you were able to defend yourself effectively, and that person paid the price, whether that's the price of a hospital visit or the morgue visit. And now you've got to deal with the aftermath of the fight. What are some of the things that you want to do? I want you to realize, first of all, when the bad guy goes away, your fight is not over. First you had the fight for your life, now you have the fight for your freedom. Some jurisdictions, this is fairly easy. I live in the state of Arizona. We have very firmly established castle doctrine, innocence until proven guilty. It's the prosecution's burden to prove that you did not shoot in self-defense. And so, generally speaking, a lot of prosecutors won't even take those to court if there's a reasonable suspicion that it was deadly force. But you may not live in that jurisdiction. You may live in the People's Republic of California, or in New York, or somewhere where self-defense is not the norm, where people are not expecting to see somebody defend themselves with deadly force, and you need to be ready for that. So a few things I want you to think about. Remember, always the same: attitude, skills, and plan. First of all, what's your attitude? Now I have to realize, were my actions justifiable? Did I do the right thing? And I must see that spiritually and emotionally first. Am I okay with what I did? Is God okay with what I did? And even if the prosecution's not okay with what I did, would the average person, would a reasonable person be okay with what I did? Once I establish that, my attitude is, now I have to defend myself appropriately. I've got to decide when the police show up. What am I going to do? And you should have those attitude, skills, and plan ready already for after that happens. Because otherwise you're going to be so amped up that you will not be ready for that. So that means that, wait a minute, once the threat is gone, I've bugged out. Even if I'm in my home, man, I've gotten the heck out of there. I'm worried, I'm scared. And I recognize that when the police show up, the second I see those blues and reds, the firearm gets put down, my hands get put up, I'm a good guy, I'm a good guy, I'm a good guy. You should also think, once you're done with that encounter, you pick that phone up and you call 911, what are you going to say? Recognize anything you say can and will be used against you in a court of law. They're recording that 911 conversation, and they will use it. So be careful what you say to the 911 operator. Trust me, those are good people on the other side of the line, and the police officers that show up are generally good people too. They don't want to bust you, the good guy, they want to bust the bad guys. But if you say stupid things, they might quickly start to think that you're not as good a guy as you think. Because most of the time that they see violence being done, it's gang violence, it's bad guys on bad guys violence. And so when they encounter a good guy, they're a little bit wary. So watch what you say on the phone. You should also have an attorney ready to go, somebody who understands deadly force encounters, somebody who knows criminal law. And you should have that phone number ready to go to say, hey, wait a minute, officer, here's the bare facts of the case, and you have to decide, are you just going to lawyer up, Fifth Amendment up, hey, I exercise my Fifth Amendment rights, I don't want to talk to you, or are you going to give that responding officer some information? It's a post for another time. Then, in the follow-up, if you go to the hospital, you say, listen, I need to get some medical care, I'm hurt, even if you're not hurt, I'm going to go get checked out at the hospital because I could be all amped up. Then what's your next step from there? Have the attitude, skills, and plan to recognize not only a legal sense that you might have to defend yourself in court of law, both from criminal and from civil prosecution. Again, depends on your jurisdiction. Here in Arizona, if they were in the commission of a crime, they can't sue you. That's another story. Depends on your jurisdiction. But also the social ramifications of that, the spiritual ramifications of that. If you defend yourself, what's going to happen to you at your church or your house of worship? Are people going to accept that, or are you going to be shunned? And are you prepared for that? Be ready for it. Have the attitude, skills, and plan to know that you're ready to pay that price. What about your family? What will your spouse think? What will your children think? What will your mom and dad think? What will your siblings think? The extended family. How about work? If you make it into the news, is your boss going to understand, or are you going to lose your job? Are you going to pay the price among your neighbors and among your social circle? What are people going to think of you? Now, me personally, I don't hang around with people that wouldn't be okay with me defending myself. If you're that serious that it's not okay for me to defend myself, you're not my friend. You really don't understand my worldview. So I don't hang out with those people. But your mileage may vary, and you should think about those things in advance. So we talk about the fight after the fight, and I want you to think through some of those things. You know, a lot of times we get very put a lot of thought into, okay, here's how I'm going to defend myself. I'm going to use that. The gun's going to come out, and I'm going to shoot the bad guy. And then our planning stops there. I don't want you to do that. Fight the fight after the fight as well. Mentally have the attitude, skills, and plan that you need in order to survive legally, spiritually, emotionally, and socially with the aftermath of a deadly force encounter. Think through those issues and have that plan ready. Again, at least an attorney on file, at least some discussion with your spouse and significant others. Maybe a talk with your clergy to ask them what they think and how that would work and what that means for you and God. And have those plans in place so that when the time comes, God forbid it ever does, but if it does, you're not trying to formulate a plan. You're not seeing if you have any skills. You're not trying to establish what attitude you need. Those are already in place. As always, in all situations, cover your asp. That's all for now. Have a great day.
So everybody, let's go and do some shooting, shall we?